Hi, we're launching a new project today. So first I want to open sacred space as this is exciting. I have been wanting to do this with you for a long time. For literally 10 years, I've been working on this body of work that I've accumulated. And tonight's the night. This is not a perfecti document. This is an experiment in an exploration. It's sort of like a video blog post. And I'll be doing bits and pieces over time. And then eventually I'll have gathered as much of the material that's available, which I have no idea. It's just a place where I'm going to start, and I might as well start. So I'm starting. So what is this all about? When I was first introduced to the Course in Miracles, as was true for many women, we had an issue with the Course in the sense that there was all this male language and very little reference to the female language or female pronouns. So I'm calling this piece, Where is She in A Course in Miracles? And I have found that she is in A Course in Miracles in a very exciting way, and perhaps not even a way that you would have anticipated, because it certainly wasn't what I was surprised to find out when I asked Jesus point blank to help me out with this. But that's another part of the story. So I just wanted to kind of set up the boundary here so that you can kind of get a little bit of an idea. So basically, I started this journey of being a Course in Miracles student. And while I was studying the course, going through the book from cover to cover, and then another cycle cover to cover, and I think I'm on my third or fourth round of being in a book study, because I learned about the Course in Miracles when it first came out, but I didn't really take it to heart and do a serious study of it until the late 90s. And so by 2000, I was well into regular, consistent groups and reading through the material on a weekly basis, going through the lessons as well and going through the text material. So at the same time in 2000, I discovered and learned that there was a Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And I was like, what? There's a Gospel of Mary Magdalene? Are you kidding me? I had no idea. And I had already had some pretty amazing mystical experiences, which are stories for another day and another YouTube, about Mary Magdalene. And so I'm taking the Course in Miracles classes, and I've learned about the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Now, for me, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene was not an easy read. It was written in Coptic and translated to French. I used the French to English version, which is the French translation from Coptic to French was by LeLoup, and then Joseph Rowe translated from LeLoup's French version to English. And I like that version of the translation better than like Karen King's, who's a Harvard divinity professor, who's got a lovely translation, except that it's definitely more skewed to the Protestant way of thinking, which is more father-child. LeLoup is more about oneness in his translation. So I appreciated that point of view because that is more, to me, related to what Course in Miracles is all about. So anyway, I wanted to learn, and I began reading the LeLoup version of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And a lot of it was like pretty daunting for me. So I decided that I was really going to understand it, because sometimes you just read one sentence and there'd be so much in that one sentence you had to like stop. So that's what I did. I got a group together. We decided we would go through the material and do it very spaciously, take as much time as we needed. It's only 18 pages long. So how long could it take, right? Well, it took us over a year, and I'm still in the process of studying it, but this was studying it from a Jungian point of view. So in other words, whatever paragraph or sentence we were on, it was the research behind that. It was the ability to take into the subconscious mind and dig for what is being said here, the superconscious mind, and wrap a ritual around it, because rituals help us to express and embody certain concepts that, when you're involved in sacred music and in a ritual modality, you're going to get a much deeper penetration knowledge, being informed within your whole being, um, about what is trying to be said here. And to give you an example of this, I had a chance to talk with Joseph Rowe, who's the translator from French to English. And I told him about my journey with the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And I said, it's like the words or the sentences, they have a vibration, and the vibration, I'm finding it's impacting me, they're like, just because I'm doing it from a more meditative point of view, I'm really feeling the awakening to a new level of consciousness happening because of it. And Joseph said to me, he says, yeah, he says, I translated the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, but he said it was the Gospel of Mary Magdalene that woke me up. So he also had that experience as well. Anyway, it was very exciting to know. One day, I'm studying and preparing with the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, because I was going to be doing it in my group again. Um, and so I was getting the material together and figuring out the ritual and all of that. I was in a deep contemplation of that particular page. And then I go to my Course in Miracles group that night, and we're reading along through the text. And suddenly I realize what I'm reading is word for word, literally almost identical to what I just read in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. So I made a little note in the corner, MM. And as you can see from my book, I have way more than this. I've tagged some, but every place where there is a reference to Mary Magdalene in the gospel, I have marked this entire book up from beginning to end with. So what I've discovered is the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is mirrored in A Course in Miracles. And not only is it mirrored in A Course in Miracles, but there are places in A Course in Miracles where the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is fragmented parchment that they found. So every so often there's a missing piece, and it starts to say something, and then it doesn't actually finish it. It finishes it in A Course in Miracles. It goes on to explain exactly what Jesus was meaning to say and what he was meaning. And that's another point about it that I really like, is it shows the original intent, that, the concepts that to me feel so much more in alignment with the greater truth that are found in A Course in Miracles, which is considered to be a correction of the Bible's misinterpretation that the disciples got kind of messed up about, not really interpreting the Bible correctly. And then you go to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, And there's the original intent. So that's another exciting part, because it shows that in the original intent, Mary Magdalene is demonstrating the living demonstration, because she got and she understood exactly what Jesus was teaching. She wasn't worried about, did it culturally fit in with the norms of the time, like Peter was. He was all freaked out about, the fact that he was letting a woman into the group. But like, oh my God, what are you doing? You're violating the tenets of our culture, and you want me to give that up? And women are less than life, as he states. I think in the Gospel of Thomas, he states that he's like so upset and angry. And, Levi calls him a hothead. Peter, you're a hothead. And he says, I thought we were supposed to follow what Jesus was teaching us. And Peter would have none of it. So very insightful. Anyway, I'm so excited because there's so much I want to go in and explain to you, which was just so wonderful. So the first concept that comes up, maybe not the very first, but one of the important concepts that comes up in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is there is no sin. In fact, Peter asks that question of Jesus, what is the nature of sin, or whatnot. I have to get the book, and I will in a minute. So, and we'll go, or maybe it'll be in the next little YouTube, because I don't know. I'm just going to keep making these as I get a chance to go through it all. So you may want to just check out my YouTube site called Magdalene Impact and check in for the next one. But so anyway, a really important concept is that there is no sin. So in the preface, which is right in the very beginning of A Course in Miracles, I have noted here in the column, you'll see my little MM. That's where I put every time I came across something that was in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. This is on page 11 of the preface, and it's in the bottom paragraph. And it says, sentence 1 of the last paragraph, sin is defined as lack of love. That's text page 11. Since love is all there is, sin in the sight of the Holy Spirit is a mistake to be corrected rather than an evil to be punished. Our sense of inadequacy, weakness, and incompletion comes from the strong investment in this scarcity principle that governs the whole world of illusions. So sin is just a mistake. It's a mistaken idea. It's not something to be punished. But boy, you listen to people say about crucified Jesus, he's nailed to the cross, and you're a sinner and you're going to die if you don't get saved, quote unquote, by Jesus, and Jesus is like, no, I was crucified as a demonstration to know that this is unconditional love. This body is part of the illusion. I'm spirit, you're spirit. And so we got fixated on the crucifixion instead of on the love that God is and has for us, and doesn't hold judgment and doesn't demonize us, and it doesn't have any interest in sending us to hell. He wants us to get it. He wants us to understand that we are love, because we're not separate from God. We never left God. God never left us. It just didn't happen. But in our egoic mind, instead of being in our heart, right? In our egoic mind, looking with our body's eyes, we see separation and we think we're separate. And so we hold that separation. So sin is defined as lack of love. So that's all. You just have to return to the love, as Marianne Williams said in her book, Return to Love. And when we return to love, then we see that we made a mistake. There was an error in thinking. We weren't in the right alignment in our thoughts. We weren't thinking the thoughts of God, which is God only knows love because God is love. And how could God be anything other than any? There is no opposite to that. It's just all that is. Anyway, that's the beginning. I think that's enough for right now. We will take it out again. Each night I'm going to just do a little bit and we'll see where we go with it, how we get along. And thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Take care. Bye.